Too many drinks later. Hello and welcome back to the last in this extended coverage of the player events that we have been going to.
A mass LARP loving, basically, that's been going on.
How long have we been talking for? It feels like a very long time.
A very long time, but fully enjoyable the whole way.
Yeah.
Like, actually meeting up and doing this again, really good fun.
Mate, so good.
So good.
So good.
So good.
And thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
As always.
I hope it's not too rambly, and obviously we're just having a good time meeting up and doing all this again. So,
yeah. So I went to one more player event.
Yes.
So
I couldn't go to this one.
I was at the Fallen Queen event, and basically Tom was like, "Are you going to the one next weekend?"
Literally the weekend after.
Yeah, that Martin, Travid, and the Black Scars were organising.
Yeah.
Which was a quiet glade in
Therunin. Yeah, which is my home region.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, my back's kind of fucked. I don't know where I'm going to go. He was like, I've got a tent set up. You just need to bring your soft kit and yourself and a bed. He's even offered to bring the bed, but yours is so good. I declined. He was like, I was like, I can't really turn that down.
Yeah.
And like, loads of my friends were the people organising it as well. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go. But I was working like on the Friday.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to go Thursday. And I arrived at 10 p.m. on the Friday.
Right, wow, okay.
And it was like, so I arrive and this site is like, it's in the Cotswolds and it's like 200 acres of woodland and field. And it's like, just, I got an idea of scale when I arrived.
Yeah.
But basically I arrived, everyone was like, lended a hand, got myself situated. Within half an hour, I was on the field.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Dude, it was really good. And it was like, there was the family.
Yeah.
Okay? Which were the Black Scar NPCing as the family.
Right.
And very quickly, heretical shit was on the cards, right? They talked about like worshipping the virtues. And I was like, that sounds very odd.
Yes.
Like, you don't worship the virtues, you follow the virtues, right?
Yeah.
Like, a couple of odd things. There were some marriages that happened. That was pretty wacky. So, yeah, very odd first night, basically.
Okay.
Comes through to Saturday. Oh, there was a big skirmish that happened. Ezra, Truniel, and Valorn are all around the place, okay?
Yeah.
So, in the morning, I'm like, I get up and there's word of like a patrol going off.
Okay.
So I'm like, hey, I'll tag along.
Yeah.
And they were like,
because you're doing photography again, right?
Yeah, I'm doing photography. I'm non-combating.
Yeah.
I'm just like there for a good time. And then so we head off onto these like trods that are going through the woods, and like it's a lovely morning walk. Basically, the weather's lovely, having a lovely time. We go through. There's only like 4 of us, including me. And we end up going through to this area where we go through some woodland, and then we come through to what is like a shack,
right.
And it's got like you know how in the Blair Witch Project they had those little dollies made out of things, and they're hanging off trees, and like there's a bad vibe to the place. Basically, what happened was there was a bit of mistake in that there should have been people there waiting for us,
right?
But they weren't,
right?
So then they all went off, but I was like, I waited there and I was just like, I've got my camera, so I was like taking some like atmosphere shots of the situation. I was having a nice time. It's Saturday morning. And then a bunch of the Black Scar guys showed up to be the bad guys, and I was like hanging out with them, and they were like, someone said like, why don't we have you as like a captive? And I'm like, yeah, I'm down for that. Like, that sounds like a really good time. And they're like, what, would you want to do it as like an NPC? And I was like, no, man, it can just be me. Like, right? Like, I'm out here. Yeah. I got kidnapped, you know, that sort of thing. Cool. So I get tied to this thing, and then the players approach, but this is the actual scouting mission.
Yeah.
So they're looking, and I'm like getting cut up and like yelling, and they're like playing drums and musical instruments and like getting like in a frenzy of like some heretical shit, and I'm yelling at them like, this is heresy, you'll pay for this.
Oh man, that sounds great.
They leave, and then a little while later like the players arrive in number to come and like rescue me, and they basically run in there, ruffle stomp, and then like people like Tom runs up to me and like instead of like seeing if I was okay, he was like, "You got anything on you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm me. I'm Gellert, and I'm injured." And he's like, "Oh right." And then like they managed to get a physic to me, and like it took a long time to get rescued. Basically, the Empire takes a long time to rescue.
Hostage negotiations take time.
A long time. They were very much more interested in killing the Valoran. But yeah, the Ezra Truniel, who are all Briars, by the way. And then, so that was a fun like little highlight in the morning. And then there was a whole bunch of chat about like the militia interviewed me about what do you know about this, and I was like, well, I got kidnapped, and they were talking about a ritual, but I think they've got a bigger ritual planned. Ooh, what's going to happen? Yeah. Basically, we went on a whole bunch of different things over the weekend that were like, I talked a lot of politics. Yeah. We did a lot of like little skirmishes. Like we went off and we found like an aura, which made people want to seek revenge on each other.
Interesting.
And everyone started kicking off with each other, which is always a good time. Luckily, Justin, his character, like did the business on the thing, the aura site, and like
Vic's a crazy character.
Vic, Vic. It's an important character to know in this. Yeah. So all's going well, and then there's word that there's this is when I decide. So basically, my back is pretty fucked at this stage still. Yeah. So I'm having to maybe go away every couple of hours just for a lie down. I spend like 40 minutes to an hour just lying on my back, just chilling out, and then I'm pretty much good to go again. And one of these moments, turns out the family were all like vengeance cultists, and it all kicked off in the town, and everything like drawn swords, battling people. They ran off into the woods, absolute chaos. Okay, I missed this obviously. So like they ran off and did all this stuff. Oh, I'm also forgetting a really important thing, which is a giant tournament.
Right.
So they had a 1v1 tournament, which involved some absolute badasses taking each other on. Like, oh my god, like I would not feel confident in that 1v1 because of how good all the fighters were. Right. They were excellent. That went on. There was a bit of skullduggery there, which was pretty fun. Like people getting involved from outside.
Oh, interesting.
Like,
right.
Just craziness. Then they did a split tournament, which was where two groups fight each other, and then the winner of that group splits in two, and then they fight each other, and then the winner of that group gets split in two, and then that fights each other until you get down to one person. That's the winner.
That's cool.
This is all extremely exhausting.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, people were absolutely shagged after this. So when I think the big reveal of the family came out, it was like people were already pretty gassed. Yeah. But we went off for what was described as like an ambush. Right. So we go off into the woods, and they're like, okay, you're all like Ezra Truniel, and you're going to be hiding out in the woods. And I'm like, okay, cool. So they're like lying in ditches behind trees, like all of this shit. Okay. Right. And then there are two Ezra Truniel that are like meant to be like guide them into this ambush. Right. On this like one lane coming in. So they go out, they see the Imperial forces approaching, they run, the Imperial forces follow, they come into the woods. They trigger the ambush, maybe a touch early, but it's hard to say. But it was like, and then this battle erupted that was so intense. Yeah. Like smoke going off. The ambush was terrified the Imperial forces. There were huge pushes. But the thing that was absolutely crazy was a Dornish knight and Justin, Vic, pushed forward really far and then got downed.
Right. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the Imperial forces just stopped like 10 meters away. Yeah. And were just like frozen. Yeah. I've never seen anything like it. It was like the whole scene was that chaotic that it was like I've never seen people like yelling for help, and players just like in a line, just unable to move forward. Like there was no one leading them forward. Eventually, they went forward and managed to fight through the Ezra Truniel that were there, and through the smoke and the hell and all of that shit. The Dornish Knight got back with 13 seconds before the Physic treated them.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Vic was dead by the time they rolled over.
So crazy. So crazy, dude. Like, Vic's a really cool character.
He's such a charismatic creator of game and facilitator of game and all of those things. It's like there isn't he's a big like presence within the nation.
Yeah.
Him dying was rough.
Yeah.
So they had a funeral outside of the bar where they're all like he gives his last words and everyone's around him listening. I take a few snaps and then he dies. And then there was a whole conversation about whether his body might turn into Valorn spawn and all this stuff. And I just basically stepped forward and I took his knife and I was like, let me just deal with this.
Yeah.
So I executed Justin to make sure he wouldn't come back. And that was like, I handed his knife back to him and left it on his chest. And that was like, dude, that's like Navarre feels, right? Like that's like you listen to that, like, well, that doesn't sound very nice. It's just like
that's Navarre.
That's Navarre feels like for real, right? And then they managed to get his body. It started to rain, so we got his body inside the thing. And then I was talking about who would police his body, and I was like, I offered to take his body back to his people, but someone else offered to take him. So I was like, okay, but yeah, that was pretty intense.
Yeah. Dude, like that's a huge event.
Yeah, but. Then what happened was, afterwards, there was the ritual was going to take place that the Ezra Truniel were doing, the big ritual, okay? And it was like, they're going to do this, and then they put out a call for players,
right?
And like very few players were interested,
right?
But loads of people volunteered to be the bad guys. There were like, I think there were 50 people at the event, something like that, 50 ballpark, and 20 something players were part of the skirmish crew.
Okay, yeah.
Dusk coming down, and I think this has a lot to do with the tournament.
Yeah,
the tournament was like crazy intense and like really full on, and I think it burnt a lot of people out.
I think there is also something to be said for it's actually a lot of fun to play a monster because you can kind of cut loose. Your character's not at risk. You can you can try different fighting style. You can do all the things.
The skirmish crew were having a great time, right? Like, but when the players approached, it was just a rough fight. From the off.
Right.
From the off, like, they got approached by Valorn in the long grass.
Right.
Long grass is really knackering to walk through. Okay? Like, it looks really cinematic and it's fantastic, but, like, it's very tiring to trudge up and down the thing. And then they had to get through a gate, and the gate kind of got closed in on, unfortunately, so it ended up in that horrible kind of, like, melee and a thing. And then, basically, by the time that the Imperial forces managed to get through, the ritual had been complete.
Right.
Now, this ritual has actual game
impact.
Yes. Yeah. So, real bad things are going to happen because of this.
Oh, not in Therunin.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No, Therunin... Yeah.
Oh, no. I was in such a happy place.
No.
Talos was in a really happy place.
Nuh-uh. The heirs of Therunin have done some terrible things. No. Ritual things have happened, Ian. No, accept it. It's fine.
I was having a great time just walking the trods in my fancy get-up.
Yeah.
I didn't want...
No. Oh. No one did. But that's what happened. Because it's a sanctioned event, and that's the way it goes.
Oh, that really sucks.
If the game was too easy, no one would have a good time. So
no, actually, for the game, that's amazing. Right, for the game, that's amazing.
But yeah, so I've really run roughshod over that event. By the way, it's very late.
It is very late here.
The organisers were fantastic. Black Scar absolutely smashed it out the fucking park. The rest of the players were so good. I got to meet a whole bunch of new players. I had a whole bunch of political stuff. Like, we should just talk generally now.
Yeah.
I got to talk politically to a whole bunch of new players.
Yeah.
who really brought the heat.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times when I was just like, man, we went really toe to toe, and I had to go like OC for a second to be like, hey, sorry, that went really hard. And it was like, no, every single time it was like, no, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's the first time I had a chance to talk about that. It was so good, you know. It's been a real privilege to go to these events and have such a good time.
Yeah, I mean, being able to go to LARPing again and come back with LARP stories and to come here and sort of actually talk about them with you, it's like, to be able to do it all again and for to feel so much like what I wanted, right? Yeah. Like all 3 player events, like I'm sure I can speak for the one that you went to, were just great, like really good, and everybody involved just absolutely smashed it out of the park.
I think it's like, I had this feeling like I've talked so much about what's happening right now. I need something else to happen.
Yes.
Right? Like that's kind of how I feel about it. Like I feel like I've talked about my political position and my feelings about the stuff I know about in so much detail at this stage. Like I need other input. Like, there's a few other events coming up that
you should go if you can go, dude.
I would like to, especially if they're hosted by other nations, so I can get a real idea of what other nations are doing, what their motivations are, how they're feeling about things.
Yeah, because ours have all been very kind of Navarre-centric in a way, you know, which is it's good fun.
All 3 of them have been Navarre events.
Yeah,
like so it's to be expected. But like I'd love like a horror of Varushkin event or like a really like bourgeoisie like. Lots of like hanging out on couches.
There is an event like that coming up, actually, a Brass Coast event. That's what I'm talking about.
Brass Coast.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Like I saw some images of it. So you should do stuff if you can. I won't be able to, unfortunately, but
I think we'll see how we go. I also have like potentially another LARP coming up in November, which I can't really talk about. I'll talk about that probably after the thing. But yeah, thanks for bearing with us during this extended long LARP.
It's great to be able to do this again and to be able to share it with all of you. And like, obviously, some of you maybe won't have had the chance to go LARPing yet, and all of that. And
for a whole bunch of reasons.
And like I hope like you can sort of gain from our kind of excitement about everything we've done and stuff that like good times around the corner and like LARP is still phenomenal. And awesome.
I actually think like. I think LARP is exactly the tonic for people right now. I think it's like there's still some hesitancy because of all the things.
Yeah.
But I think like what we really want right now is like that sense of like community and like interacting with people in person.
Yeah.
It's outside, which is fantastic. It's a very kind of like responsible, from what I've seen, group. Like everyone's very conscious of safety and taking flow tests and all the rest of it. So I don't know, I'm very confident about what the future has and what this new breed of player coming into the thing was new. Breeds are all the right word, like new generation is the word I'm talking about, coming in. And these are coming through in like every 2 years, right? Like we're going to seem like boomers in no time.
We are.
We already are. Absolutely.
Dude, yeah, like you see new people coming in and they're just so brave.
Yeah,
right?
With their costume and their kit and their RP.
Really strong.
Like,
there's so many amazing.
Like, I think like E1 is going to be this like powder keg of like new and exciting and like genuinely like just unexpected actions. I can't wait.
There are people out there who probably think they have an idea of how certain things will go, and just because of the time and the distance and the excitement between all of these things that's built up, some of those things will probably be altered.
I didn't even mention I'm the proxy for the ambassador to Jean.
Yes, you are. Congratulations.
I should have mentioned that.
You should have mentioned that. But to be honest, there's so many things at these events.
Man, we run over those 3 events roughshod.
So and apologies for that. I mean, some of it's because we just can't talk about certain things, but other stuff is like there was so much stuff going on and like so many feels along the way. It's difficult to do it all justice, to be honest.
I don't know how long we've been talking for, but it feels like a very long time. Thank you very much for listening. I think we should close this in the traditional way.
I think because we're back. We're back, baby.
We're back, baby. Back on top.
So I guess,
just
strength to the Empire, Dave.
Strength to Navarre.